Oysters. You can slurp them, you can fry them up in a pan, you can have them on the half shell or in a dish named after one of America's most elite families. They're even known to put you in the mood, if you know what I mean. Love them or hate them, shuck them or chuck them, oysters certainly are known to evoke passion. So our friend Nicole, aka Pretty in City on Twitter, is obsessed with oysters. So we went on the hunt for the perfect specimens. Our first stop was to see Chef Giuseppe Tantori at GT Fish and Oyster. So if you're for a first-time newbie oyster eater, what would you recommend?
I would recommend like a small, creamy oyster.
Okay.
One of my favorite oyster, this one is called Naked Cowboy.
You just like the name, Naked
Cowboy.
Cowboy.
Well, I don't really like the name that much, but ladies don't really like the name.
Do you fry them here too?
We do. We make slider.
Oh my gosh, we have to try that later too.
With kimchi and sesame oil. In like October and like April, best time to eat oyster. Because the water is so cold, so the oyster gets so full of flavor. With the creamy oyster that like butter when you eat it.
Yes.
Then you have like the brinish one, they're a little more salty, full of flavors.
Look what we did. This is great. This is gorgeous.
You want this oyster, you don't want to cover it with ketchup.
Giuseppe, cheers. Here's some great oysters. So this is the place to be for oysters. I love dishing it with Giuseppe today at GT Fish and Oyster. And don't forget, if you come here after 10 p.m. every night, oysters are half price. I got shucked at GT Fish and Oyster. Our next stop was to Shaw's Oyster Bar, where I got to meet with the Oysterlier. I'm sitting at the Oyster Bar at Shaw's Crab House with the Vice President of Oysters, believe it or not, Steve LaHaye. Raw oysters to me, they're like really easy to eat because you guys shuck them so well, you just have to throw them back. But this, how do you eat it at Oysters Rockefeller?
Because it's a whole oyster, you know, it can be kind of like goopy. You can try and cut it. That's what I usually try and do.
Okay.
Well, when you eat an oyster, you should close your eyes and think you're on a beach somewhere. And when you eat that, you should taste this flavor of the sea.
How many oysters do you think you sell a year?
We do about, we just figured it out, about 500,000 last year.
That's crazy. You should have like a little sign outside, like McDonald's or something.
That's a good idea. We will.
Over 1 million oysters served. When I was at Shaw's, they paired my oysters with a very dry gin martini with a lemon twist.
The type of beverage you want to have with an oyster, I think, is something that's dry and clean.
This is gin, and I know I usually like mine with olives, but with oysters I should have a twist.
Right.
Okay, now we're going with the raw oyster.
Raw oyster. And what's interesting about this one now, this is a tumbled oyster.
Okay.
So that process, they're trying to get the oyster to be plumper inside and have more meat.
I love how you serve and how carefully you guys shuck the oysters, because there is still a lot of the juice like left in the shell, and that's the important part. You need to have that.
Yeah, you don't want a dry oyster.
No, Chubby don't want a dry oyster. Ah, shucks, Nicole. So now we know why you're so passionate about these culinary crustaceans, these bodacious, blissful, briny bivalves. Do you have a question about Chicago's dining scene? Would you like to be featured on Dish It? We'd love to hear from you. You can find us at watch312.com or on our Facebook page, or you can tweet them right to me at Amanda Puck.